welcome to another Guardians of Wiltshire video. I'm your host Derry, and welcome to the first in the series of Send Forth All Legions. So this series, if you haven't seen the Welcome Back video, is all about the Legendary Legions, and I'm going to go through each one in its entirety, looking at what you can take, etc., and their special rules, all that kind of thing. Then I'm going to give you 3 sample lists at 450, 600 and 750 points, and run through kind of the hierarchy of heroes. This is kind of just how I would build lists and what I think is good. I haven't tested this one personally, but I think it has the potential to do relatively well. So we'll go straight in. The Battle of Helm's Deep is well underway. The deeping wall has been breached, Uruk-hai have flooded through the walls, and the defenders of the fortress have been pushed back into the throne room. Yet even as hope is fading for those that remain within Helm's Deep, help is not far away, for dawn is breaking on the 5th day. Atop the hills that surround the deeping combe, the valley that contains Helm's Deep, Gandalf can be seen riding Shadowfax, and he has brought help with him. Having found Eomer and the rest of the exiled Rohirrim, Gandalf has led them with haste to defend the Hornburg from Saruman's armies, and, after riding through day and night, they have reached the battle just in time. The Marshal of the Riddermark rides with his Eored and other loyal Rohirrim who stood by Eomer when he was exiled under the orders of Grima Wormtongue. Amongst the ranks of the Rohirrim stand Erkenbrand and his Westfold Redshields, the riders of great skill and prowess that have come to defend their king, their lands and their people. With a shout of "To the King!" from Eomer, the Rohirrim begin the rapid descent towards the ranks of Uruk-hai below. The timing of their arrival was well prepared, for as they charged towards the fray, the morning sunlight burst over the peaks of the hills, blinding the Uruk-hai and rendering them all but helpless against the Rohan charge. So after that synopsis, we'll go straight into the army composition. So the models and profiles you can take within this force are Eomer, Marshal of the Riddermark, on horse. He has to take the horse. You can give him a shield and or throwing spears. The next one is Erkenbrand, Captain of Rohan, on horse. The following that is Gandalf the White on Shadowfax. Next is the Captain of Rohan on horse. And he can also take bow, heavy armour, shield or throwing spears. And then finally, the only warriors in the list are Riders of Rohan, and they can take a warhorn, banner or throwing spears. So moving on to the additional rules, the first one is a Riders of Eomer force must include Eomer, Marshal of the Riddermark. Eomer is always the army leader. He is the highest tier of hero, along with Gandalf, but he has to be the leader. Secondly, all models in a Riders of Eomer force must be cavalry models. That's having the cavalry keyword. From the list as is, everything is automatically given a horse, so you do not have that problem. You cannot take anything else, you cannot drop the horses. And then finally, Riders of Rohan within this Legendary Legion do not count towards the force's bow limit, just as well, because with the only troops being Riders of Rohan, that would be very difficult otherwise. Moving forward to the special rules, this is where the Legendary Legion gets very interesting. Firstly, you have To the King. With a rousing cry, Eomer leads the charge of the Rohirrim as they hurtle towards their foes in defence of their king. Friendly Rohan cavalry models within 12 inches of Eomer gain +1 strength on the turn which they charge. So this is essentially the Rohan army bonus modified to Eomer himself and the concentrated charge that is them riding down the hill towards the Uruks. And the one that I think makes this legion really quite viable is Look to the Sun. The arrival of the White Wizard and the Rohirrim brings with it the morning sun, blinding their foes as they charge towards them. Once per battle, so long as Gandalf is alive and in your force, which is key, you can declare that you are using this ability at the start of any friendly move phase. Until the end of the turn, enemy models that are engaged with or supporting a model that is engaged with any friendly cavalry models that made a charge that turn suffer a -1 to their duel rolls. So I think, for me, the key part of this special rule is at the start of your friendly move phase. So you would have to be within charge range. You could, in theory, do this on the turn you won priority, which is probably the best, to be honest. Because if you called it when you didn't have priority and your opponent was able to move out of range of you, that would be a complete waste. And I think that's where the Legion would collapse. I think this is a really cool rule. It really shows the film and what happens and brings it to the tabletop. So we'll just run through the designer's notes as well, because these are always really interesting. Not everyone kind of looks at them. So the designer's notes are: this legendary legion represents the Rohirrim that were exiled by Theoden under the influence of Grim Wormtongue, and were then brought to Helm's Deep to aid Theoden by Gandalf the White. Understandably, this legendary legion is led by Eomer, but it can also include Gandalf the White, allowing the wizard to lead Riders of the Rohan for the first time, which is what a lot of people I know were calling out from. You can ally him in from Gondor and Minas Tirith, but I don't. This is the way to go if you want to have him with Riders of the Rohan. He just gives far more buffs. This legendary legion has two special rules. The first represents the impact that their charge down the valley has upon the Uruk-hai, granting them a bonus of +1 strength when they charge. The second special rule represents the fact their charge was so perfectly timed to coincide with the sun cresting over the hills and blinding the Uruk-hai in the valley below, allowing the player once per game to have the sun blind their opponent's force and make them suffer a -1 penalty to their duel rolls. This, combined with the powerful charge, will make for a devastating turn against almost all enemies. I think this list is really cool. It's one I really want to try out, but as you have heard in the Welcome Back video, I'm only painting stuff from Gondor at War and working through from scenario 1, so Rohan is fairly down the line. I think this could be really good. I think it has the potential to be at least mid-level, at least the mid-level Legendary Legion. Like it says, against most of the forces, the -1 penalty, you want to do a lot of damage on that first turn, get as many cavalry in combat as possible. The issue is the Riders of Rohan don't become Fight 4, which I think could be a big problem, because obviously Theoden's not around. But that -1 to the duel roll means if you roll a 6, your opponent will never win a fight. In that turn you call Look at the Sun. I play Angmar, and having a shade around is exactly the same, and it's really, really beneficial. I don't know what more I can say about this. It's a kind of straightforward list. You'd always want Gandalf the White, which you'll see in my army lists in a minute. I have him in every single list. You want to minimise, or at least maximise your shooting, so minimise your opponent's combat prowess. You want to take out quite a few beforehand. Also, with two pretty powerful heroes, you could charge them in and call heroic combats the first turn when you call Look at the Sun. You want to really, that first charge has got to be the most devastating charge. And with Blinding Light, with Gandalf, you can quite easily outshoot your opponents, and especially if they're a shooting army as well, you've got that protection, so you can keep skirting around and choosing the right time to charge. I don't think there's much else, along with having a wizard can give you a lot of control, and Eomer is a really good leader. I could do a hero spotlight on him more in the future. I don't know quite how else to put it apart from to go into my army lists and or hierarchy of heroes. I'll go hierarchy of heroes first, and go from there. So we'll come back with that now. So, looking at hierarchy of heroes within this list, it's pretty straightforward. There's 4 heroes, Eomer, Uruk-hai, Gandalf and the Captain of Rohan. You always have to include Eomer, so he will always be at the top of the hierarchy. Then, because of the special rule, Gandalf is always next. So I'm going to do these in kind of the same as I've done my army lists. I will have done at 450 points. You'll see there's not many models, but to get the most out of this legion, you need Eomer and Gandalf, which is a huge point sink. You're looking at 350 points at least, which doesn't allow you many Rides of Rohan. 450 points, I don't think this is a viable legion. I think it sits a bit higher up. I'm not sure exactly where, but I think around the next points level that I'm going to talk about it will do. So we'll move on to that now. It's just 600. So at 600 points, Eomer and Gandalf are perfect. You can fit enough guys in that I don't think it will cause you too many issues. You've got a lot of bows, etc. I personally wouldn't put in another hero at this point. You just want to fill out with bodies and maximise that first charge. So Uruk-hai and Captain fall way down again. Then at 750 points, obviously you're Eomer, you're Gandalf, and then it's kind of Uruk-hai or Captain. I personally would choose Uruk-hai. I think he has Heroic March, not quite sure. Let me just double check. Uruk-hai has Heroic March, so therefore I would definitely take him over a Captain. I wouldn't necessarily upgrade Rides of Rohan to red shields. I haven't in my list, it's not something I even factored in. But giving +2 courage to everyone is huge. So that's how I would, and anything higher than that you can fit in a Captain. 1,000 points you'd probably drop a Captain in as well, just for a bit more might. But other than that, I think at 750 you definitely Eomer, Gandalf, Uruk-hai are the way to go. So I will come back with my army lists next. So, coming back with army lists, like the hierarchy of heroes, I'll come in at 450 points, work to 600, and then to 750 points. So starting with 450 points, obviously you have Eomer on his horse. I've given him a shield, which I think you should always do. Getting him to defense 7 is massive. Because strength 4 armies are around and they're actually pretty decent. Then I've also given him a throwing spear. This is because I had 5 points left over at the end when I was writing this list. I wouldn't generally give him a throwing spear. Following that is 2 Riders of Rohan, and 1 Rider of Rohan with a throwing spear. In Warband 2 is Gandalf the White on Shadowfax with 1 Rider of Rohan and 2 Riders of Rohan with throwing spears. This is 8 models. It only has 6 bows, 2 throwing spears and 6 might. You don't have Heroic March, as far as I'm aware. We just check Gandalf. You do not have Heroic March, which could be useful. Like I said, at 450 points, I don't think this is viable at all. I play Eagles at 450. I've played Mahud and Fiefdoms at 450, and I think both would be able to deal with this. They're both, like most of those, will be able to deal with that list. Most normal armies are looking between 20 and 26 models ish at 450. So I wouldn't recommend it at this points level at all. But if you move on to the 600 points, you then have Eomer with his horse and his shield. I'll keep him without his throwing spears. Then you have 4 Riders of Rohan, 2 Riders of Rohan with throwing spear, 1 Rider of Rohan with banner. I think this is really crucial to the list. Giving your opponent that -1, but also having a banner reroll yourself is massive. I would keep them near the heroes. So then, in the second warband is Gandalf the White on Shadowfax, 5 Riders of Rohan, 3 Riders of Rohan with throwing spear. So this gives you 17 models in total. It gives you a banner, which is crucial for some of the scenarios. It gives you 15 bows, 5 throwing spears just for that strength 3 if needed, and 6 might as the 450 point list. But I think the amount of bows you have in this list can really reduce your opponent down to a significant portion, and then once you charge in, you can really get that benefit of the special rule. Like I said, with the banner giving you an extra reroll, or giving you a reroll at least. With Eomer and Gandalf, if you're calling her at combats, then it's definitely worthwhile. I think this is a pretty sweet spot for the Riders of Eomer list. I'm not sure how else or how it would do against certain armies. Like I said, I haven't play tested this, but I definitely think this is a very sweet spot with the amount of bows and the amount of riders you get and the amount of models in a list. Most people at 600 are looking at 32 models, I would say, maybe late 20s. So having only 10 models less rather than 15-20 models less, 10 models less rather than 15-20 models less is pretty big. So moving on up to 750 points, this is where you can introduce Uruk-hai. So for myself, it's Eomer with Horse Shield, 6 Riders of Rohan, 1 Rider of Rohan with Throwing Spear, Gandalf the White, 5 Riders of Rohan. I think that's supposed to be a banner. Yeah, so Eomer with Horse and Shield, 6 Riders of Rohan, 1 Rider of Rohan with a banner, Gandalf the White, 5 Riders of Rohan, 1 Rider of Rohan with a Throwing Spear, Uruk-hai with Horse, 6 Riders of Rohan, 1 Rider of Rohan with a Throwing Spear. Not as many Throwing Spears in this list, but that just gives you that extra model count. It gives you an extra model, it's an extra bow. So in this list there are 23 models, a banner, 20 bows, 2 throwing spears and 9 might, and you crucially have heroic march. It's not necessarily needed with a cavalry list, but having heroic march is always a benefit to an army, I find. I don't necessarily always take it myself, but if you can take it with a model that can do something else as well, like the courage buff that Uruk-hai brings, that's huge. So your Riders of Rohan are suddenly courage 5, your heroes are courage 6 and courage 7, you've already got Gandalf with courage 6. I haven't upgraded any of them to Westworld Red Shields, because I've got a banner in there. You could, in theory, probably drop the banner, get a couple more riders, or give 1 extra rider and some throwing spears and Westworld Red Shield upgrades. But I don't, like I said, I think 600 is about the sweet spot for this list. I'll be very interested to see how it would do against other standard 600 point lists. If you've got, I think that's the end of this Send Forth All Legions. It's good to be back doing these. I think I will continue to do this kind of format. If there's anything else anyone can think of, then please let me know. So if you've enjoyed these videos, please like, share and subscribe, and we'll be back soon.